This is Anand Mahajan, your instructor for the Python course. Now we are going to talk about namespaces in Python.
This video is brought to you by Appy Pie Academy.
Actually, what is a namespace? A namespace is a collection of variables, functions, sets, tuples, dictionaries, etc. When we start Python interpreter, the inbuilt namespace is started. That means what I am talking about is a namespace is a collection of variables, functions, sets, tuples, dictionaries, etc. and the other things which are in a Python program. What I want to say is namespaces are the ones which can be created by the programmer and as well as which are inbuilt. So a namespace is inbuilt in Python. When we start Python interpreter, the inbuilt namespace is started. So this namespace contains all the inbuilt functions that we have been using so far, all the inbuilt functions, or we are going to use in the coming lectures. So this namespace contains all the inbuilt functions like print, abs, id, dict, int, float, etc. There are so many. There are hundreds and hundreds of inbuilt functions in Python, and they become readily available when we start our Python interpreter. Now see, let me talk about scope. Now scope refers to a segment of the code, right? When we write a program, there are various functions, there can be classes, etc. And then there is the driver part of the program, which is the main part of the program from where all the functions are invoked. Now these are the scope. Scope refers to a segment of the code. For example, if I declare a variable inside a function definition, its scope will be that function only. Now what I mean to say is, if I have declared a variable inside a function body in function definition, that can be accessed only within the body of within the definition of that function. It cannot be accessed outside that function, right? So scope will be the scope will be set to be local to that function. Scope will be set to be local to that function only. Now, number two, if I declare a global variable, its scope will be the whole program. Now, how do we declare a global variable? That I will tell in the subsequent lectures. First, we are just reading the theoretical part of namespaces and scopes. Now, I will come up with an example. I have written a simple function, my function, with the name my function, and it has got we have declared a variable called var, and I have assigned it the value 1000. Because it is within the body of the function my function, it will be local to my function. That means this variable var, this particular variable var, cannot be accessed from outside this function. It is local to this function. So when I will print or I will manipulate with this variable var, it will be very well okay. There won't be any problem because it is using its own local variable. Now this is the driver of the program. Now here I have called this my function. When I will call my function, the control will go into this my function, and the variable var will be assigned 1000 and it will be the value will be printed. So far so good. But in this driver part of the program, what I am trying to do is I am trying to print the value of the variable var here, but it will be erroneous. Why? Because I am trying to access the private, the local variable of the my function. It cannot be accessed by other functions or the driver of the program. So you can see the whole definition, the whole body constitutes a namespace, and the whole driver part constitutes a completely separate namespace. So this is the concept of namespace and scope.